Most hunters enter the tower to become legends, but this guy, he just wants to pay his rent and hide under the covers. But one morning, he wakes up to find his loan sharks haven't just disappeared. Their severed heads are gift wrapped on his doorstep with cute red ribbons. Meet the biggest coward in history. He has zero talent, crippling anxiety, and avoids danger like it is a deadly disease. But the system forces him into a death game with one rule: summon spirits to fight for you. The catch: these aren't heroes. They are rank psychopaths, and he has to manage their customer satisfaction ratings. Like an Uber driver for serial killers, he tries to fail on purpose to stay hidden. But his minions misunderstand his orders and accidentally wipe out entire floors in seconds, breaking every record known to man. Now the government is hunting him. The world thinks he is a god, and he is absolutely terrified. You are not ready for the accidental dominance of the whip that awakens his internal wild stallion. We are dropped straight into a neighborhood that has clearly given up on life. It is the kind of place where studio apartments are basically closets, and the locals spend their time yelling about stolen shoes or just complaining about the air quality. Walking through this delightful scenery is our protagonist, Banju Hyuk, at 25 years old. Hugh is living the dream, and by dream, I mean a nightmare of poverty. He is juggling 3 part-time jobs as a cashier, a waiter, and a daily laborer. Yet his bank account remains a barren wasteland. He sits in his 180-square-foot rooftop apartment, eating instant ramen for dinner again. He knows the truth: he is drowning in debt. He has zero special skills, and his only asset is a body that has not collapsed from exhaustion. Yet he fully accepts that he is a pathetic loser with no bright future. But because the universe has a twisted sense of humor, a blue system notification suddenly pops up right in front of his face. It says, "You have awakened." Buck nearly chokes on his noodles. He stares at the floating text, wondering if he has finally snapped. Awakening is supposed to be a golden ticket, a chance to hit the jackpot and turn your life around. But our boy is a realist. He knows the tower is not a playground. It is a place where you get torn apart by monsters, crushed by traps, or frozen to death. He immediately regrets quitting his part-time jobs. In his mind, he starts spiraling, imagining all the ways he could die. He admits to himself that he avoids confrontation at all costs. He is the guy who crosses the street to avoid a construction site. He is a self-proclaimed coward. He tries to convince himself this is just a hallucination born from fatigue. He decides to check just in case. He calls out status window. To his horror, it actually appears the system lists him as Banju Hyuk. Affiliation: Black Tower Level 1. His trait is Summon. He has 3 skills listed: Designated Summon, Random Summon, and Summon General skills. He stares at the inventory slot and realizes this is terrifyingly real. He reads the description of his trait: Summoners can call forth spirits, golems, or demonic beasts. He wonders what kind of summoner he is. Feeling foolish, he decides to test it right there in his room. He shouts random summon. He expects nothing to happen. Everyone knows skills only work inside the tower. Using a skill outside is impossible. He feels like an absolute idiot for even trying. But then the system chimes in. You have activated random summon. A glowing purple light explodes in his room. Hugh panics as a figure materializes. It is not a monster or a cool dragon. It is a dude. A human man with red hair stands there looking confused. Buck is baffled. He did not know you could summon people. The summon guy sniffs the air. He completely ignores the magical situation and focuses on the ramen pot. He asks if he can have just one bite. Hugh stares at him. He just performed a miracle of magic. And he summoned a moocher who wants his dinner. The redhead starts slurping down the noodles, complaining that it is spicy, acting like he owns the place. Hugh is bewildered. How did the skill work outside the tower? And who is this guy? The status window helpfully provides an update. It explains that human summons come in tiers, just like a gacha game. Ranks go from rare all the way to legendary, special, super rare. The system also lays down the law. The summoner must protect the summoner above all else, and they must absolutely obey the summoner's orders. Hugh latches onto that last part. Absolute obedience. That sounds promising. The system then reveals the identity of the noodle thief. He is John Kozak Answer. Rank entity: his title: the Mad Assassin of the Cruel Assassins Guild. Suddenly Hugh is hit with a massive headache. It feels like his brain is being rewritten. He gets flooded with Kozak's memories. He sees visions of Kozak slaughtering people effortlessly. He sees the man gift wrapping the severed heads of his victims. It turns out the nickname Mad Assassin is very literal. Kozak's life ended when he failed to assassinate the Empire's strongest swordmaster. Hugh snaps back to reality. Terrified, he is locked in a tiny room with a mass murderer. He jumps back as Kozak approaches him. The assassin apologizes for startling him and humbly asks if there are any orders. Hugh remembers the absolute obedience rule. He decides to test it with a high-stakes mission. He tells the legendary assassin to wash the rim in paw and wipe the table. Kozak does it instantly. No complaints, he is efficient and polite. Hugh watches him and thinks this is actually pretty convenient, but he needs to be sure. He decides to push his luck. He orders Kozak to bark like a dog. Without a shred of hesitation or dignity, the deadly assassin gets on the floor and starts barking. Hyuk is amazed. The control is absolute. Just as he starts to relax, someone bangs aggressively on the front door. A voice yells for Bonju Hyuk to open up. Hyuk freezes. He forgot what day it is. It is interest payment day. He owes 10 million won to a loan shark because banks would not touch him. He needed the money for his dad's hip surgery and his brother's college tuition. It was a desperate move, and he has already paid 5 million in interest without even touching the principal debt. The loan shark is outside. Hugh panicked. He turns to Kozak, who has already summoned a dagger and is ready to murder whoever is at the door. Kozak asks for the order to bring Hugh the intruder's head. Hugh frantically waves him off. Murder is generally frowned upon in modern society. He orders Kozak to hide in the bathroom, keep his mouth shut, and not make a single sound. He asks if he can still breathe, and Hook graciously allows it. Kozak vanishes into the bathroom just as the loan shark barges in. The thug grabs Hook by the back of the neck, asking why the payment is late. Hugh apologizes profusely, lying that he just sent it. The shark does not buy it. He casually mentions that if things are too hard, Hugh can always sell a kidney. Then the shark's goons chime in from the hallway. They mention Hugh has a younger brother. They suggest that the younger the organ donor, the higher the price. Hawk hears this threat against his brother and goes cold. But he is a survivor. He puts on a fake submissive smile and assures them he will pay. The shark warns him to wash himself, unless he wants to disappear without a trace, then finally leaves once they are gone. Kozak steps out of the bathroom. He compliments Hugh on his orders to hide. Hugh collapses on his bed, exhausted between the awakening, the summoning and the death threats. He is done. He wonders if a coward like him can really climb the tower. But he needs the money. Kozak asks what to do now. Hugh tells him to do whatever he wants. Kozak asks if he can watch tea since it has been a while. Hugh agrees, confused but too tired to care. Kozak happily settles in to binge watch some soap operas. Hugh watches the assassin from his bed. He thinks that having someone else around is actually kind of nice. It is comforting not to be alone for once. He drifts off to sleep. Hugh wakes up the next morning. The room is empty. The 6-hour summon duration has expired. He sees a notification confirming Kozak has been unsummoned. He rubs his eyes thinking it was all a fever dream, and decides he needs to get ready for his part-time job. But then he hears that it is still on. Playing the morning news, the reporter announces breaking news. Early this morning, the office of the private lending company Smile Cash was destroyed. 3 victims were found at the scene. All of them were decapitated. Hugh freezes. Smile Cash is his loan shark's company. The reporter continues with the gruesome details. The truly shocking part is that the victims' severed heads were found, decorated with red ribbons. Hip turns pale. Gift dropped heads. He realizes exactly what happened. He screamed, shouting that there was no comfort in this companionship. He did not summon a friend. He summoned a psychotic murderer who went out and slaughtered his debt collectors while he was sleeping. The morning news is delivering a fresh dose of panic directly into our protagonist's veins. The reporter creates a lovely picture of the Smile Cash murder case, confirming that the victims were found decapitated and decorated with festive red ribbons. Hugh immediately knows this is Kozak's handiwork and realizes he is absolutely screwed. He spirals into a paranoid delusion, imagining himself at his cashier job where a simple customer buying a heart-shaped gift looks like a threat or worse, someone handing him a severed head. He is terrified that the police will connect the dots to him, so he decides to call out sick from all his jobs because he cannot function. While wondering if he is an accessory to a triple homicide, he pulls up the system window to check on his new friend. The status screen confirms that John Quay is indeed the mad assassin with its rank and a human manifestation limit of 6 hours. Yuck tries to summon him again to get some answers, but the system suddenly turns into a customer service app. A prompt appears, asking him to leave a satisfaction rating for John Kosa before he can use the skill again. Hugh stares at the floating stars in disbelief. The man murdered 3 people while Hugh was sleeping, which honestly feels like a 1-star experience. He wants to leave a bad review for the trouble he has been caused, but his conscience kicks in. He remembers his mother working as a water purifier saleswoman, and how devastated she was by low ratings, unable to be heartless even to a serial killer. Our soft-hearted hero sighs and leaves a polite 3-star rating. Kozak appears instantly beaming with joy. He thanks Hugh for the generous 3 stars and promises to work even harder next time, looking suspiciously innocent for a guy who just committed a massacre. Hugh cuts to the chase and asks if he killed the men who visited the house yesterday. Kozak cheerfully confirms it, stating he took care of them right before his time ran out. Hugh feels nauseous realizing he is standing in a room with a murderer, but he manages to ask how Kozak even found their office. The assassin explains he planted a tracker's mark on them when they barged in because he identified them as a threat. When Hugh argues that he never ordered a hit, Kozak recites the 3 principles of summoning again. The first rule is to protect the summoner's life above all else. Even though Hike ordered him to stay hidden, Kozak decided that eliminating the threat to Hike's safety took precedence over the order to be quiet. Hike calls this reasoning psychi, and Kozak politely accepts the insult as if it were a compliment, admitting he hears that a lot. Our boy starts imagining a nightmare scenario where he bumps into a rude stranger on the street, and Kozak interprets a simple insult as a death threat, leading to more gift-wrapped heads in public. Desperate to put a leash on this madness, Hugh demands a promise that unless there is a knife literally at his throat, Kozak is not allowed to kill anyone based on mere suspicion. Kozak salutes like a loyal soldier and agrees to use his best judgment, which is incredibly vague and not reassuring at all. Trying to change the subject, Kozak asks if Hugh has considered climbing the tower. Hugh's legs start trembling just thinking about it. He admits that while it is a golden opportunity, he is frankly too scared and considers himself a coward compared to the brave heroes who save the world. He expects Kozak to be disappointed. But the assassin's eyes light up. He calls Hugh the greatest summoner, because bravery is poison for a summoner. According to Kozak, a brave summoner is a dead summoner. He prefers a master who prioritizes safety, so he can handle all the dirty work while Hugh lives a long healthy life. Comforted by the fact that his wimpy nature is actually a strategic asset, Hugh sends Kozak away and tries to sleep. He wakes up deciding to ignore the tower and just live a normal life, now that his debt collectors have mysteriously vanished. But the universe hates him. He gets a phone call from his dad, who reveals that he needs a transfer to a more expensive hospital, and that Hugh's mom has just been fired. The financial burden is back, heavier than ever. Hugh realizes he has no choice. He gears up in a ridiculous outfit, involving full-body safety pads and a helmet, looking like he is about to ride a bike with training wheels. He decides to enter just the first floor for a quick pee. However, he really does not want to go in with the redhead psycho. He tries to use his random summon skill to get literally anyone else, hoping for a legendary rank. The system shuts him down immediately, informing him there is a 28-day cooldown on the skill. Defeated, he summons Kozak again. This time Kozak thanks him for the 5-star rating. So clearly Hugh learned his lesson about keeping the murderer happy. Kozak is thrilled that Hugh has decided to enter the tower, but he immediately critiques the safety gear. He tells Hugh to throw away the crude armor, because he will be the ultimate guide. He promises Hugh will not have to lift a finger, with a deep breath and a very dangerous chaperone. Hugh accepts the prompt to enter Korea's Black Tower. Floor 1. Our protagonist is making his grand entrance into the tower. And by grand entrance, I mean he is currently trying not to vomit all over his assassin. The teleportation process has clearly done a number on his equilibrium, and he is clinging to John Cossack like a baby cola. They arrive on the first floor, which is a desolate wasteland, not exactly a 5-star resort. Kozak, ever the professional, gently pats him and assures him he will get used to the nausea eventually, as Hick stumbles away from the safety zone clutching his chest. A system notification pops up to save his ego. It tells him that his physical abilities have been enhanced to a major level just by entering the dungeon. Suddenly, the urge to throw up is replaced by a surge of unearned confidence. He flexes his fingers, feeling stronger, faster, and surprisingly capable. He giddily believes for a second that he is ready to throw hands. The system assigns the first mission to defeat 5 fat grubs with tough skin within 2 hours. The name sounds disgusting, and the reality is not much better. These are giant oversized beetles. Hugh cracks his brain for information and remembers that these things are basically the tutorial dummies of the tower. However, dummy is a relative term for a normal newbie player. Whittling down just one of these tanky insects takes about 30 minutes of frantic stabbing. They are legendary for having thick skin that makes blades bounce off, but Huck is high on his new stat boost. He decides that today is the day he becomes a man. He asks to borrow a weapon from Kozak, determined to take down at least one bug by himself. He marches up to the nearest giant insect, weapon raised, looking almost heroic. Then the bug twitches. That is literally all it does. It moves an inch. Hugh's bravery shatters instantly. He spins around and screams for Kozak to save him, abandoning all dignity in record time. Kozak does not judge, in fact. He compliments Hugh on making a wise decision to retreat. The assassin steps in, but he does not just stab the bug. That would be too subtle. He unleashes a skill called Blade Explosion with K4. Yes, you heard that right. He uses military-grade plastic explosives on a tutorial beetle. There is a massive boon, dust flies everywhere. And the bugs are not just defeated. They are vaporized. Hugh watches with his jaw on the floor. As the mission is cleared in literal seconds, the system goes absolutely wild, awarding Hugh its plus conquest rating and a shiny platinum badge. Hugh stares at the rewards, realizing that while other people fight for their lives, he just stumbled into a cheat code. While Hugh is dusting himself off, a global notification pings every single player in South Korea. It announces that the second floor of the Black Tower is now accessible. We see shots of other hunters in gems and bars looking confused, wondering who on earth cleared the first floor so fast. Meanwhile, Hugh is already back in his apartment checking his loot. He inspects the magic stone he just earned. It is a blue crystal indispensable for modern industry, and even with market saturation, it is worth 50,000 won. Hugh does the math. He just made 50 grand in 5 minutes. That is more than he makes in days of holing bricks. He looks at the platinum badge, which he has never heard of before, but decides to ignore it for now, because the money is all that matters. To celebrate his newfound wealth, he orders delivery. He gets pork trotters. But being a considerate master, he orders the regular flavor instead of spicy. He remembers that the legendary mad assassin has a tongue made of paper and cannot handle heat. Kozak is touched by the gesture, but still sniffs the food suspiciously, asking if it is spicy as they eat. Heat brings it something that has been bugging him. He asks if Kozak's archa, overly formal way of speaking, is natural. Kozak admits it is a habit picked up from his previous summoner. Hugh laughs, noting that it sounds like he is still hung up on an ex-boyfriend. Kozak offers to fix it if it is annoying, but Hugh tells him to keep it, because it is actually kind of entertaining. They share a laugh over pork and murder, solidifying their strange bond. Hugh finally accepts that the tower is not a death trap. It is his personal aim. The next morning, Hawk restructures his entire life. He decides to quit his back-breaking day labor jobs. His new schedule is simple: work the convenience store by day, the restaurant by evening, and then grind the tower with his assassin summon at night. He summons Kozak again, who is practically glowing, because Hyuk gave him another 5-star satisfaction rating. Kozak explains the mechanics. The higher the rating, the better the buffs. High satisfaction leads to longer manifestation times and even rank promotions. Basically, if he keeps keeping his assassin happy, the assassin gets stronger. It is a win-win. They head to the second floor. The mission is to defeat 10 fat grubs with quick wits. These ones are fast. Hyuk starts to panic, wondering if they can catch them. Kozak just smiles and says he will finish it in 3 minutes so they can go home and eat fried chicken. True to his word, Kozak obliterates the fast bugs. Another +++ rating. Another platinum badge. Another pile of magic stones. Hugh realizes this is absurdly easy. They do not stop there. They hit the 3rd floor to fight ice scrubs. Boom. Cleared. 4th floor cleared. 5th floor cleared. Hugh is racking up platinum badges like they are participation trophies. He realizes he can clear a floor in the time it takes to brew a cup of coffee. After the 5th floor is conquered, the system grants him a special privilege for accumulating 5 platinum badges. It is a trade enhancement. Bilk reads the notification, and his eyes go wide. The number of simultaneous summons he can control has increased to 2. Or coward freezes. One psycho assassin was handling everything perfectly, but now he can bring out 2 of them. The tower is not ready for this. Our boy is staring at his status window, calculating his next move like a coupon mom on Black Friday. He realizes that thanks to his recent speed running, he can now control 2 summons simultaneously. This means he could technically have a full entourage right now, but he looks at the cooldown for his random summon skill and hesitates. It is over 20 days. He decides to play the long game instead of risking a bad pull. Now he plans to wait until the cooldown resets so he can roll deep with 3 people himself, Kozak, and a new meat shield to ensure maximum safety. He convinces himself this is strategic patience. But we all know he just wants to do even less work than he is doing now. Meanwhile, at the Awakened Management Agency, the government is absolutely losing its mind. A team of very stressed bureaucrats is trying to figure out who on earth is clearing the Black Tower with Rain. Team leader John and section chief are sweating bullets. Because the previous best record for Korea was a pathetic harangue, the director is terrified that other countries will swoop in and poach the super rookie with better benefits or worse, kidnap them. They order a full manhunt for this mysterious player, unaware that the target of their search is currently sitting in his underwear, eating instant noodles back in the tower. Polk and Kozak are treating the 8th floor like a walk in the park. They face off against Red Horn Frog warriors, and before Hill can even blink, Kozak has turned them into sushi. Another floor cleared, another's plus rating, and another platinum batch. Hugh complains that the hardest part of his day is just the motion sickness from entering the tower, while Kozak warns him that things get real after the 10th floor. Feeling generous, Hilk decides to reward his loyal murderer. He opens his wallet and tells Kozak to go out, have fun, and eat something delicious in the real world. Kozak immediately shuts that down. He refuses to leave his summoner's side, citing absolute obedience. Hugh sides and decides that if they cannot go out, they will bring the party to them. They order chicken and Kozak is so excited he is practically vibrating. While Kozak is distracted by the poultry, Hugh checks his inventory. He finds 5 tower exclusive healing potions which he decides to give to Kozak later. But the real prize is the pile of magic stones. He does some quick mental math and realizes he is sitting on over 3 gig of magic rocks. If he sells them, he will have over 1 billion won. Our boy went from broke to billionaire in a wee. And he did it without lifting a finger. By day 10 the routine is set. Yuk works his cashier job, then goes home to obliterate monsters. He gives Kozak another 5-star rating, which extends the assassin's manifestation time by an extra hour. Kozak makes a heart shape with his arms to show his gratitude, which is both adorable and terrifying. Coming from a man who severs heads for a living, they enter the 10th floor, and Herrick feels a change. His body is overflowing with mana, and he describes feeling like a wild horse. The testosterone goes to his head, and he tells Kozak he wants to help fight this time. Kozak immediately panics, saying that if Hugh gets even a single scratch, he will have to smash his own head into the ground as punishment. Hugh ignores him, claiming his pride as a human is at stake. Because the monster is just a big bug, the monster appears, and in a rare moment of confidence, or perhaps Kozak interfering at light speed, the bug is sliced in half. Instantly the system announces the completion of the 10th floor, and awards Hyuk a massive pile of loot. Because he has accumulated 10 platinum badges, the system offers him a special privilege. He can copy 1 skill from a summon. The list includes cool offensive moves, like Blade Explosion and Poison Dagger. A normal protagonist would pick an attack skill. Hyuk. He immediately picks Shadow Step. Kozak asks why, and he admits it is the best skill for running away. Kozak the Enabler praises this choice as tactical genius because survival is key. Hyuk tries to test out his new teleportation skill in his living room, hopping around like a bunny, but nothing happens. He remembers too late that skills do not work outside the tower, and looks like an absolute idiot hopping around his apartment, finally ready to cash in. Hugh makes the call to the Awakened Management Agency to sell his magic stones. He thinks he is just making a business transaction, but to the agency, this is the lead they have been waiting for. Team leader John and section chief rush to the address, praying this is their guy. They arrive at his tiny, humble apartment. Hugh opens the door, nervous because there is a very intense woman staring at him. Section chief does not waste time with pleasantries. She gets right up in his personal space, stares him dead in the eyes, and asks, "It is you, isn't it, this plus ranker?" Section chief Lin Min is invading his personal space like she is trying to count his pores, asking if he is this plus ranker. Hyuk tries to play it cool, denying everything, but he is terrified. They have some secret awakened detecting technology he does not know about. Luckily his acting skills are terrible, but his natural loser energy is incredible. Lin Min sees his terrified, pathetic expression, and immediately decides there is no way this wimp is a hero. She backs off and her boss, team leader John, apologizes for her rudeness. Hyuk breathes a sigh of relief, realizing that looking incompetent is the ultimate camouflage. They move inside to his tiny table for a little chat. Team leader John starts with the verification process, asking to see proof of his dungeon clears. Yuk hands over the mana crystals he collected from the 10th floor. The agents exchange a look. Clearing the 10th floor is impressive, and it matches the progress of the mysterious super rookie they are hunting. They casually ask if he has heard about the global announcements regarding the high-ranking clear. He channels his inner award-winning actor and pretends to be shocked, praising the unknown hero while sweating through his shirt. Team leader John then lays out the offer. Players are divided into two groups, the elite and the general. The elite team gets a salary, government support and cool gear, but they are basically government property and have to clear high-level floors. The general team is for freelancers who can do whatever they want. Hyuk does not hesitate for a second. He immediately chooses the general path. He tells them he is scared, not talented, and just wants to farm safe floors for easy money. Section Chief Lun Li Min looks at him with pure disgust. She is thinking that while many people choose the safe route, nobody admits to being this pathetic so openly. She marks him as a waste of time. However, the team leader is thorough. He asks Hugh to perform a tower entry right now, as a final confirmation step. Hugh agrees, but he knows exactly what they are doing. They want to time him if he clears the floor instantly. They will know he is the guy. Hugh decides to outsmart them by being deliberately incompetent. He tells them to make themselves at home because he plans to take a nice long 2-hour stroll inside. As soon as he disappears, the agents start taking bets on his failure. Lin Lehman predicts he will quit on the 11th floor because the mission involves centipedes, and a coward like him will definitely panic. Inside the tower, Hyuk briefs his assassin. The mission is to kill 100 long-tail centipedes. Kozak, eager as always, offers to slaughter them all in 5 minutes. Hyuk immediately shouts no. He orders Kozak to go slow and steady. He explains that they need a sloppy, messy run to throw the government off their scent. Kozak gives a thumbs up, although he probably thinks his master is playing some Ford chess. They start the level and Kozak is killing things at a snail's pace as ordered, but then disaster strikes. A giant centipede bursts out of the ground right directly under Hugh. Our brave hero freezes his legs, refusing to move. Kozak sees his summoner in danger, and his absolute obedience to the safety protocol kicks in. He screams that he cannot comply with the order to be slow when Hugh's life is at risk. In a blur of motion, he obliterates every single centipede in the vicinity. Instantly, the system ping of doom follows immediately. 11th floor cleared, rank yes. Yuk stares at the notification, realizing his plan to look mediocre has failed spectacularly. Huck pops back into his living room exactly 5 minutes after he left. The agents are staring at their phones, which have just received the global announcement of the clear. They look at Huck. Huck looks at them. The timing is undeniable. There is no way to talk himself out of this one. Realizing his cover is blown, Huck's demeanor shifts. He summons Kozak, who looms menacingly behind him. Hugh looks at the two terrified government agents and says that he really did not want to resort to this, but they will have to be silenced. Now it seems Arwin is about to enter his villain era. We resume with our coward Banjo, Hugh caught in a terrifying delusion. He watches in horror as his assassin, Kasai, follows his earlier silence them vibe a little too literally, and slaughters the government agents right in the living room. Hugh is about to scream, but then reality snaps back. The agents are perfectly fine, breathing and unmurdered. It was just Hugh's overactive paranoid imagination running wild. The only thing actually dying in the room is Hugh's dignity. He is sweating buckets, and Section Chief Lan Lehman asks if he is okay, assuming he is having some sort of panic attack. Team leader John attributes the sweat to a persecution complex, which is honestly a polite way of calling him a neurotic mess. But quickly agrees that he is fine. Just to move the conversation along, team leader John gets straight to business. He knows Hawk is the guy who cleared the 11th floor in record time because the timing was too perfect to be a coincidence. Kirk tries to deny it, claiming it is contagious to be that good, or something equally nonsensical. But as I told you so, laugh is so awkward, it convinces no one since the jig is up. The team leader slides a contract across the table. But this is not just any contract. It is the ultra-elite contract. We're talking about an annual salary of 12 billion, one real estate provided VIP protocol, full security detail, and legal immunity. It is basically a license to live like a king. Any sane person would sign this in blood immediately. But he looks at it and says no. Why? Because he hates attention. He remembers the trauma of a shop owner asking him what style of clothes he likes and fleeing, because it was too much social pressure. He is an extreme avoidant type. He tells them he just wants a standard contract because the elite path requires clearing dangerous upper floors, and he refuses to carry that burden. He just wants to live comfortably, not heroically back at the awakened management agency. The director is baffled. He asks how a small-time citizen with zero ambition isn't ranker. Lin Li-min confirms the timing is irrefutable. The director decides he does not care if Hugh is a weirdo. Talent is talent. He orders them to bring Hugh into the elite team no matter what, setting the stage for future harassment. Back in the safety of his apartment, Hugh is furious. He scolds Kozak for being too fast earlier, which led to them getting caught. Kozak apologizes, but Hugh decides he needs to be firm. He shouts that if Kozak disobeys orders again, there will be nothing for him. No tea, no snacks. Just sadness. They enter the 12th floor. To hunt ice weasels, Hawk gives a very specific command to go slowly. He wants to fail the time limit or at least look average, so the government loses interest. Kozak agrees, but then he notices something terrible. It is cold. He looks at Hugh's shivering form and decides that a cold is an incurable disease that threatens his summoner's life. Logic goes out the window. To get Hugh to a warm room as fast as possible, Kozak annihilates the weasels instantly. The result: another ++ rank and another platinum badge. Hugh's plan to look mediocre is failing spectacularly. Team leader John calls immediately. Suspicious about the 12th floor clearing speed, Hugh hangs up and turns his rage on Kozak. He points to the D and tells the assassin he's banned from watching his soap operas. He declares there is nothing for those who do not obey, but the cycle of suffering continues. On the 13th floor they face a hallway of traps. Hugh worries about variables, but Kozak decides traps are dangerous, and just smashes through the mechanism instantly to protect him. ++ rank achieved. On the 14th floor they face giant eyeball bots. Kozak decides the sonic attacks are too risky for Hugh's delicate ears, and wipes them out before they can hum. So rank achieved. Hugh gives up. He realizes whatever happens, happens. Hugh sits down to do some accounting and realizes his failure to be mediocre has a silver lining. He has made nearly 8 million won in 14 days just from cash rewards. But the real kicker is the magic stones. He has 5 of them if he sells them. He is making a daily wage of 1 million won. He realizes a life with a monthly salary of 30 million won is waiting for him. He immediately quits his part-time job. The next day, Hugh summons Kozak and sees the assassin bowing on the floor. Grateful that Hugh gave him a 5-star rating. Despite his disobedience, Hugh decides to stop fighting destiny. He tells Kozak they're done going slow. Since the management office already knows, they might as well speed run. They enter the 15th floor to kill 20 goblin workers. Hugh worries because goblins have intelligence and might run away to call for help. He tells Kozak to be careful. Kozak tells him to stay put and uses a skill called stab. He moves so fast and silently that the goblins die without even noticing they have been killed. Mission success. Another ++ close rank. Another pile of loot, including a tower exclusive healing potion and an owner emblem. Back in his room, Hugh checks his inventory. He has accumulated a total of 15 platinum badges. The system recognizes this milestone and offers a new perk. He recalls the previous rewards. At 5 badges he got a second summon slot. At 10 badges he got to copy a skill. He stares at the notification, wondering what kind of game-breaking ability he is about to unlock. This time hopefully it is something that helps him do even less work. So our professional coward has officially hoarded 15 platinum badges, and the system decides it's time to give him a little treat. It grants him the energy shield kit. It sounds fancy, but it's basically a bracelet that absorbs damage, like a magical sponge until it shatters. But here's the kicker: the description doesn't say tower exclusive. Barclays practically turn into $signs. If this thing works in the real world, he is looking at a payday of 2 to 3 billion won. He immediately starts doing the math, wondering if he should sell it and retire or keep it and actually try to survive. He turns to his resident murder expert and asks if they can clear the 16th floor right now. Kozak, ever the loyal hype man, says a clear is guaranteed, but he can't promise its rank if they rush. That is all Huck needs to hear. He decides that risking his neck for a lower grade isn't the vibe, so he plans to sell the bracelet and live like king. Meanwhile, back at the awakened management agency, the mood is grim. It has been 15 days since the mystery super rookie cleared a floor, and the director is spiraling. He is convinced the guy either quit or died, lamenting that the heavens are blind to waste such talent. Team leader John tries to calm him down, checking the logs, and suddenly announces that the player is coming in to use the player's shop. The director goes into panic mode. He realizes their VIP is still running around in beginner clothes, and probably has zero gear. He orders a total lockdown of the shop. He wants the shelves stocked with top-tier items, but he demands they slap a 90% discount on everything. He figures if they give it to him for free, Hugh's suspicious nature will reject it, so a sale is the perfect trap to get him up. Back at the apartment, Hulk decides he needs to verify the merchandise before he sells it. He hands a dagger to Kozak and asks the assassin to stop him, just a casual Tuesday request. Kozak looks at him like he just asked to blow up an orphanage. He starts trembling, refusing to hurt a single hair on his master's head. Hugh rolls his eyes at the drama. He grabs the dagger himself and goes to stab his own arm. But before the blade can touch him, Kozak's hand flies out and catches the blade barehanded. Blood drips onto the floor as the assassin shakes, terrified that his master almost got a boo-boo. Hugh quickly heals him, realizing that trying to test safety gear with an overprotective psycho was a terrible idea, and Hugh decides to practice his shadow step. He teleports onto a goblin's back. Feeling like a ninja, the goblin screams and tries to bite him. But ping, the energy shield activates. It works perfectly. Hugh, feeling invincible for exactly 2 seconds, kicks the goblin in the face while Kozak swoops in to finish the job, but instead of a high-five, Kozak starts screaming. He demands to know if Hugh is hurt, scolding him that being brave is bad for his health. Hugh apologizes profusely, promising to go back to doing absolutely nothing. With a bag full of mana stones worth millions, Hugh finally calls the agents. He expects a normal transaction, but the government sends a literal limousine to pick him up. He arrives at the player shop and is greeted by team leader John, who gives him the full VIP treatment. Hugh walks into the shop and is confused. It's completely empty of other customers because, unbeknownst to him, they kicked everyone else out. He looks at the price tags and sees incredible gear selling for pennies. He assumes the market has crashed or he's just a savvy shopper, completely missing the fact that the government is subsidizing his wardrobe. He picks up a pair of leather walkers that usually cost a fortune but are listed for the price of a ham sandwich. He buys them along with some other gear, thinking he is pulling off the heist of the century. The director watches from his office, weeping with joy that their precious glass cannon is finally wearing protection. The next day Hugh is feeling himself. He has new boots, a working shield, and a replenished ego. He summons Kozak, who immediately salutes and prepares for another round of goblin genocide. But Hulk stops him. He points a finger to the ceiling and declares that today, they are not just grinding. They are expanding the squad. He has that second summon slot ready, and he feels lucky. He casts the random summon skill, praying for a tank or a healer. A massive magic circle fills the room. And I mean massive, a figure begins to materialize. But there is a slight logistical problem. The summon is huge as the giant fully manifests. His head smashes straight through the ceiling of the apartment, raining debris everywhere. Hugh stares up at the hole in his roof, and his first thought isn't about the powerful ally he just got. It's about his security deposit. The giant figure standing amidst the drywall rubble is confused. Hugh is mourning his security deposit, and Kozak has decided that violence is the only answer. The red-headed assassin takes one look at the new guy and immediately identifies him as a threat to his monopoly on Hugh's attention. He screams at the giant to sit the hell down, calling him a running bastard, and launches an attack. Hugh watches in horror, not because he's worried about blood, but because he really can't afford any more property damage. Kozak is slashing away, screaming die. Drop dead like a jealous ex-girlfriend who just crashed the wedding. But the giant just stands there completely unbothered. He looks down at the assassin desperately trying to murder him and simply says it tickles. Kozak's eye twitches. He threatens to slit the giant's throat and tie a pretty ribbon on it, proving his gift-wrapping obsession is still very much active. Hugh finally steps in, ordering them to stop before the entire building comes down. Kozak freezes instantly because orders are absolute, but he is visibly vibrating with rage. Hugh asks for a status report on the new guy. Kozak spits on the floor and says he doesn't need to know the guy's name because he's a meat shield. He explains that this guy is famous in the underworld for being a total moron who probably doesn't even know the 3 laws of summoning. To prove his point, Kozak quizzes the giant on Article 1. The giant blinks, his brain clearly buffering, and says he doesn't know. He forgot. Kozak looks at Hugh with a smug "I told you so" face. suggesting they just kill him now and re-roll the gacha in 100 days. Hugh ignores the murder suggestion and checks the system window. The new guide is a rare rank, the lowest tier possible class. Savage Warrior. His name is currently blank, and his satisfaction rating is non-existent. Suddenly the familiar headache hits, and Hugh is dragged into the giant's memories. He sees a beautiful, open plain where the giant is frolicking with butterflies. It's all very Disney princess until he realizes the giant is also casually snapping the necks of wolves. While he plays, the narration reveals the tragedy of this absolute unit. He was a pure soul who found happiness in nature, but he was also dumber than a bag of rocks. A group of so-called heroes tricked him into joining their party, used him as a frontline tank against a Hydra, and let him get melted by acid breath. While they stayed safe in the back, he died protecting people who were mocking him the whole time. Hulk snaps back to reality and looks at the giant with new appreciation. He thinks it's messed up, sure, but he also realizes that a guy who is loyal to a fall and has a high pain tolerance is exactly what a coward needs. He decides to name him. He asks the giant if he prefers Yemen or Gobang. The giant, true to form, says he doesn't know, so Hugh goes with Gobang. He smiles and promises to make Gobang happy, which sounds sweet until you remember Hugh's definition of happiness is staying alive while you do all the work. He introduces Gobang to Kozak, declaring that the three of them are now comrades. Kozak looks like he just swallowed a lemon. He politely agrees to the comrade title while internally calculating exactly how many seconds it would take to dismantle Gobang. The squad is assembled, so they head straight to the 16th floor. The mission is to eliminate 30 goblins. Kozak, ever the drama queen, insists on taking point to protect Hyuk from poison needles. They walk through the forest in a formation. Kozak in front, Hyuk safely in the middle, and Gobang bringing up the rear. Suddenly a goblin shoots a poison dart. Kozak catches it out of the air with effortless grace, turning back to check on Hugh with intense concern. Hugh points out that there are about 50 goblins hiding in the trees. Kozak prepares for a tactical engagement, but Hugh has a better idea. He tells Gobang to get out in front and block them. Gobang doesn't strategize. He doesn't flank, he just jumps. The giant leaps into the air and lands with the force of a tactical newt. The shockwave alone knocks Kozak off balance. Arrows rain down on Gobang, but they just bounce off his skin like rubber toys. He laughs, saying it tickles, and proceeds to smash the goblins into past. Hugh watches from behind a rock. Eyes wide, he realizes that while Gobang is ranked rare, his physical stats are easily tier. The system obviously nerfed his rank just because his eye is in the single digits after the massacre. They celebrate with fried chicken back at the apartment. Gobang is delighted. He shoves an entire piece of chicken into his mouth, bone and all, and crunches it down. He looks at Hugh with pure joy, saying crunchy. Kozak watches this display with utter disgust. He asks if the chicken is spacey, but mostly he's just offended by Gobang's table manners. Hugh tries to foster some team spirit, telling Kozak that Gobang is family now. Kozak snaps back, asking why he has to be family with a vacuum cleaner who eats bones. The next day they hit the 17th floor. Yuck. Feeling the effects of leveling up, starts feeling a little cocky. He clenches his fist, feeling the mana surge, and wonders if the wild stallion inside him is finally waking up. He thinks maybe, just maybe, he should join the fight today. Kozak immediately shuts that nonsense down. He tells Hook to stay in the back, because getting confident usually leads to getting dead. They encounter a battalion of goblin warriors. These aren't the naked scrub goblins. These guys have shields, armor, and formations a normal player would need to lure them out one by one. He looks at the army. He looks at his wild stallion fists. Then he looks at his giant invincible tang. He decides that strategy is for people who don't have a hold. He orders Gobang to wipe them all out. As the giant charges in, he asks the universe what kind of broken ability he's going to get next, because at this rate, he's going to conquer the tower without ever breaking a sweat. Gobang charges into the battalion of goblin warriors like a runaway freight train. He is swatting them like flies, and our boy Hulk watches from a safe distance, absolutely mesmerized. He realizes that strategy and tactics are cute concepts for weak people, but when you have a literal tang, it's like bringing a nuclear bomb to a knife fight. Huck compares the goblins to ring their bikes, trying to stop a panzer tank. It is a slaughter, not a battle. Thanks to the giant idiot's rampage here, clears the 17th floor with another Splats ranking, and bags yet another platinum badge. He is swimming in rewards, and his ego is starting to inflate faster than the currency. They move immediately to floor 18. The mission: eliminate 30 goblin assassins. Hyuk yells move out. With the confidence of a general who does none of the fighting, Go Bang charges in ready to smash. But there is a problem: the enemy is invisible. The giant swings his club at thin air, confused because he can't see anything to hit. He stands there looking like a dog barking at a ghost, grumbling that the bad guys are cowards for hiding. Kozak, who has been sulking in the background because he hasn't killed anything in 5 minutes, sees his opening. He steps forward, declaring that he will purify Hugh's eyes. After watching Gobang's pathetic flailing, he sneers that the goblin's stealth is nothing compared to his skills. With a dramatic flair, the red-headed assassin activates Shadow Step. He blurs into motion, tearing through the invisible goblins with surgical precision. It's a massacre. Puck watches him go and realizes exactly what's happening. Kozak took the bait. The assassin was getting anxious that his screen time was dropping because of the new guy, so his competitive spirit kicked in. Hugh grins, realizing he can manipulate Kozak's jealousy to farm badges faster. He mentally high-fives himself for being a manipulative genius. But then the intrusive thoughts win. Hyuk is currently level 18. He feels the mana flowing through him. And suddenly we get a visual representation of his ego. He imagines a majestic muscular wild stallion galloping through a field of flowers. Yes, our boy literally imagines his inner spirit as a horse running free. It is majestic, it is powerful. And it is completely delusional. He spots a lone goblin that slipped through the chaos. The stallion days in his mind. He decides to engage. He sneaks up and swings his mace with a surprising amount of force. The weapon connects cleanly, crushing the goblin's skull in one blow. Hugh stands over the corpse feeling like a god of war. He probably starts planning his victory speech right then and there, but because he is busy celebrating his own greatness, he fails to notice the other goblin uncloaking directly behind him. The assassin raises a dagger, ready to turn Hugh into a kebab. Hugh turns around just in time to see his life flash before his eyes, but before the blade can land, Kozak appears out of nowhere. He parries the attack with a look of pure annoyance, and kicks the goblin into the next dimension. He shoots Hugh a glare that implies he looked away for 2 seconds and almost lost his job, but the battle is not over yet. Goblins are swarming everywhere. Gobang is smashing the left flank, and Kozak is holding the right. Hugh is standing in the middle. Adrenaline pumping, the wild stallion is back, and this time it is not just a hallucination. Hugh sees 2 goblins rushing him. Instead of screaming for help, he activates Shadow Step. He vanishes from plain sight. He reappears instantly behind the goblin's maze. Swinging, he delivers 2 lethal blows before they even realize he is there, dropping them both instantly. Kozak, who is about to rush over to babies it, freezes in his tracks. He watches his wimp of a master execute a perfect Shadow Step double kill. The assassin's eyes go wide. He realizes that it took him months to master that footwork, and Yuck just pulled it off like it was nothing. Our boy is actually talented. Later in the outside world, the media is losing its mind. The news anchors are reporting on a new wind blowing through the tower. A mystery rookie has cleared 18 floors in 20 days. With a perfect ranking. They are calling it unprecedented. Rewriting history. Everyone is desperate to know who this god-tier player is. Back in the tower, Kozak hears about the news. But he is not celebrating. He looks grave. He sits Hugh down for a serious talk. He tells Hugh that he is improving too fast. Hugh thinks it is a compliment, but Kozak shakes his head. He explains that Hugh's Shadow Step was perfect. Terrifyingly perfect. Kozak looks like he is about to have a panic attack. He explains the logic when a coward gains power. They gain confidence when they gain confidence. They start thinking they can be a hero, and heroes die. He begs his master to remember their promise of safety first. He does not want a warrior for a master. He wants a coward who stays alive. Yuck nods, promising he will never do anything dangerous again. But Kozak clutches his chest, uttering that he has a bad feeling. He looks at our boy and sees a disaster waiting to happen, convinced that this sudden burst of talent is going to be the death of them both. Back at the apartment, domestic bliss is not existent. Kozak is screaming that he is going to boil Boban alive in a pot, while the giant tank is casually falling backward and crushing the refrigerator. Hugh screams not for his summons, but for his appliances. He yells at them to stop destroying the house. But the damage is done. The fridge door is bent. And worse, a precious jar of kimchi is shattered on the floor. Needing to clear his head, our boy decides to visit the only people who don't want to kill him or eat his furniture, his parents. He arrives at his family home. His mom greets him warmly, but the vibe is heavy. His dad is lying in bed, unable to move properly because of his bad hip. Thuggy asks how he is doing, and his dad tries to act hot, grumbling that bones heal easily and he just likes lying down. It is a blatant lie, but Hug plays along, helping his father set up for dinner. They sit down for stew, and the financial struggle is thick in the air. His mom tries to be optimistic, saying she will find work soon, but he can see the exhaustion on her face. He decides to test the waters. He casually asks what they would think if he awakened as a player. The reaction is immediate. His dad explodes. He asks if that was a joke, warning Hugh that the tower is not a playground. He says he is the type of man who makes his wife catch cockroaches, but he would rather live in poverty than see his son die in a dungeon. Even Hyuk's younger brother Manhwa, whom just walked in with Tofi, calls it the funniest joke Hyuk has ever told. Hyuk quickly backpedals, but his mom catches him off guard. She asks if he is going to work today. Puck lies, saying it is his day off, but his mom gives him that look. She tells him his face shows when he is lying, but she decides to trust him anyway, as long as he avoids dangerous long shots. Hyuk feels guilty, but then he remembers something important. He asks why mom lost her previous job. She explains that she went to fix a water purifier for a rude customer. The customer demanded she clean up their recycling and food waste too. So what did our queen do? She realized the customer rating was going to be bad anyway, so she just dumped the food waste on them and let them have it. He realizes his mom is aggressive and brave, and this leads to a profound realization about his genetics. His father's greatest achievement in life was asking this terrifying woman out on a date. The narration explains that the father is the definition of a beta male, who falls head over heels for strong women. And sadly Huck and his brother have inherited these exact genes. They are pathetic but drawn to danger. Before leaving, Hugh hands an allowance to his brother to give to their parents. The brother looks at the money, then looks at Hugh with a smirk. He asks if his own share is missing. Hugh realizes this little rascal is shaking him down, so he transfers 500,000 won to shut him up. With his family sorted, Hugh heads to the awakened management department. He decides to finally visit the player shop properly. Inside, he is immediately stressed. Out there is a female employee, and there are too many people around. His social anxiety spikes. The employee shows him a shield worth 100 million won. Hugh almost has a heart attack and thinks that is way too heavy for his wallet. He asks for something cheaper. She shows him a proud hand shell for 40 million won. Hugh thinks it suits him perfectly, mostly because it is cheap, and he wants to leave this interaction as fast as possible. He buys it and flees, thinking that talking to staff members is harder than fighting goblins. On his way out, a man approaches him. He introduces himself as Joy Hosak, a player climbing the 30th floors. He is handsome, friendly, and acts like a total insider. He offers to help Hugh if he ever has difficulties. Hugh watches him leave and feels a pang of jealousy. He marvels at the guy's social skills and assumes he probably has a girlfriend too. Back at the apartment, Hugh checks his stats. He is level 19. He summons Kozak to show off the new gear. Kozak rolls his eyes. He asks if Hugh really needs a shield when he already has a bodyguard. Hugh insists on the safety-first policy. He makes Kozak promise that if things get tough, he must sacrifice the meatball, meaning go bang, to ensure Hugh escapes. Kozak agrees instantly, saying he would much rather sacrifice that bastard than himself. Then he smells something: dumplings. Hugh has brought a bribe, but mid-chew, Kozak freezes. He asks if Hugh has a grudge against anyone. Hugh is confused, but Kozak says there is overflowing killing intent outside the door. Suddenly the door is kicked in. Breaking the lock, a man walks in holding a pistol. He smirks, recognizing Hugh from the player shop. He calls Hugh a loser, and says he had a hard time following him. He points the gun at Hugh's head, demanding he hand over the bracelet and open his inventory before he blows his brains out. Hugh stares at the gun, but he is not trembling. He looks at the man with genuine pity. He thinks this guy is basically suicidal. Because the goon is so focused on bullying the whim, he has completely failed to notice the red-headed assassin approaching him from the shadows behind his back. Quick pause. If you're enjoying this story so far, please drop a like and subscribe to the channel. It really helps the algorithm. Done awesome. Let's get back to it. Our budget tier Predator with the gun is currently having the most delusional moment of his life. He actually thinks our boy has frozen up out of fear, smugly labeling him a loser who is about to hand over his inventory. After a single smack, he is mid-threat when the redhead psycho decides to end this man's whole career, knocking him into the dirt before he can even finish his sentence. The goon is left wondering where the second person even came from, while our hero takes a breath and offers a rare bit of praise. He is genuinely relieved that for once, his assassin read the room and just knocked the guy out. Instead of decorating the walls with him like some trashy thug, the redhead assassin asks if our boy really thought he would be that careless. But the conversation quickly turns to the fact that they just caught him item broker. These are the lovely individuals who hunt players outside the tower, because once they are back in the real world, they are basically defenseless civilians. Our boy realizes that if he had not summoned his personal bodyguard, he would be a very dead, very broke statistic right now. The assassin is already making plans to dispose of the body far away, but our boy shuts that down immediately. He insists on the easiest, most legal route by reporting it to the police. Meanwhile at the management office, the director is still crying over the fact that our boy only bought a mace and a shield instead of letting them deck him out in top-tier gear. They have categorized him as a melee type, but even with protective gear, they are worried about his survival. Suddenly the stressed boss gets a frantic call about the break-in and goes into a full administrative rage. He sprints through the building, terrified that if anything happens to their star rookie, he should have just forced him to sign that elite contract from the start. By the time the government official arrives, the police are already hauling the gunman away. The criminal is desperately trying to play the victim card, screaming that he was actually the one kidnapped, but our boy is not having it. He is more worried about being dragged to the station himself, fearing his loser strategy is about to end in a prison sentence. However, the stress boss steps in like a guardian angel, or at least a very angry manager. The robber recognizes him and begs for help, but the boss responds with a satisfying punch directly to the face. He cancels the man's player registration on the spot, refusing to listen to his level 34 excuses. He orders the police to take him away, knowing that once the higher-ups get a hold of a repeat offender like this, no liar in the city will touch him. Once the trash has been cleared out, the boss turns back to our boy with a look that is honestly scarier than the gunman. He apologizes profusely for the lapse in security and vows to protect him, even if it means forcing more contracts on him later. With the drama resolved, the redhead assassin pops back out, asking if there is anyone else that needs a death penalty today. Our boy has to firmly tell him to stop looking for the detention center and hide his daggers. It is time to get back to the grind. So they head to the 19th floor to face 30 goblin shamans. These guys are dangerous because they can spam curses and fire arrows, but our giant meatball of a tank has a very sophisticated solution. He just shouts. He uses a sonic outburst so loud that it literally blows the magic curses away, proving that being a brute is a very valid career choice. The redhead assassin sees this and gets competitive, telling the meatball they need to clear the floor as fast as possible to keep their master from having to do any actual work. They jump into a murder montage, so efficient that our boy does not even get to swing his mace before the mission cleared. Notification pops up. He's left wondering if they finished quickly, just to keep him out of the fight, but he cannot complain about another high rank in a platinum batch. Finally, they reach the 20th floor, the dreaded talent evaluator. This place is a nightmare cocktail of scouts with poison needles, tactical warriors, and massive hobgoblins. The red-hat assassin tries to put our boy in timeout again, telling him to wait in a safe place. While the summons handle the 100 goblin body counts, they start planning their strategy, with the meatball drawing all the attention while the assassin moves in for the kill. But our boy is tired of being the cheerleader. He decides he is not going to just sit back and watch, activating his shadow step to launch himself directly into the chaos. He leaps right over the giant meatball and charges ahead, leaving his summons absolutely baffled that their cowardly master finally decided to choose violence. Our resident shut-in takes a quick trip down a very pathetic memory lane, reminding us that he has been a professional human dormant since his Sambok days. His origin story is not exactly the stuff of legends. We're talking about a kid who was so non-threatening that other children probably considered stealing his toy cars a community service by middle school. He had transitioned into a full-blown cafeteria ghost, mastering the art of eating lunch solo while blending into the drywall. He was so terrified of social interaction that he could not even make eye contact with the school bullies. But apparently being a lifetime member of the Losers Club is the perfect training for a tower climber. He figures that since monsters do not have complex social hierarchies or feelings he can hurt, they are much easier to deal with than a group of mean teenagers. To him, this is just a high-stakes video game quest, only with a much higher chance of actually dying, and 0 respawn points back in the chaos of the 20th floor. Our professional coward finally stops acting like a glorified cheerleader and activates his shadow step. He is actually moving so fast that even his resident redhead psycho is impressed, watching him zip around the battlefield like a caffeinated ninja for a glorious 5 seconds. Our hero actually looks like he knows what he is doing as he takes down a few goblins with surprising efficiency. However, the victory is short-lived. When the little green boogers start piling onto his back like a pack of aggressive, sweat-stained toddlers, he immediately loses all his cool points. Hiding behind his shield and praying that his expensive jewelry does the heavy lifting, thankfully his energy barrier kicks in just in time to keep him from becoming a human pincushion for the goblin horde. He realizes very quickly that he might have gotten a little too cocky for someone whose primary life skill is fleeing the scene of any minor conflict. Seeing their master getting dogpiled, the summons finally decide to clock in for work. The redhead assassin is genuinely offended that these filthy creatures dared to touch his boss, calling them insignificant trash, before slicing through them like a blender set to puree. Not to be outdone, the giant meatball slams into the fray, creating absolute carnage. In the blink of an eye, the system announces that the 100 goblins and the boss, Hobgoblin, have been completely wiped out. The assassin turns to our boy with sparkling eyes, praising him for his incredible initiative, while the tank gives a silent, enthusiastic thumbs up. Our hero stands there awkwardly, realizing that while he started the fight, his employees definitely finished it. Despite doing the bare minimum, the system rewards him with another triple rank and a platinum badge. Meanwhile, back at the management office, the director is busy being the world's most well-funded stalker. He is digging deep into our boy's family dynamics and discovers a terrifying truth. The head of the household is not the father or the sons, but the mother apparently. This woman is so formidable that the men in the house cannot even make a peep when she is around. Realizing he has found the ultimate leverage, the director decides to execute a plan to aggressively support the mother. He figures if they pamper the matriarch with all the authority of the government, our boy will be legally bound to them by gratitude. It is a brilliant, albeit slightly creepy corporate strategy. Back in the real world, our boy is ready to celebrate his survival with a carb overload. He orders 12 massive bowls of black bean noodles, causing the delivery man to look at him with deep pity. The guy clearly assumes our hero is throwing a sad party for one. To add insult to injury, the delivery guy throws in a single fried dumpling as service. Our boy is visibly offended. He just spent a fortune on noodles, and he gets one measly dumpling and 0 coupons. He goes on a mental rant about how hard it is to even order with coupons these days, proving that despite his millions, he is still a petty cheapskate at heart. He rushes the delivery guy out and tells his roommates they can come out of hiding. The moment the door shuts, the apartment turns into a zoo. The giant meatball is practically vibrating, shaking the floorboards with excitement over the smell of the noodle sauce. The assassin is equally entranced, looking at the takeout like it is a holy relic. Our boy watches the barbarian inhale the food and genuinely worries that the big guy is going to eat the ceramic plate along with the noodles, ignoring the gluttony. Our hero decides to check his loot. He opens his inventory to find that he has accumulated 20 platinum badges, which grants him a special reward. A platinum random box appears, and our boy stares at it, wondering if his luck is about to turn or if the system is just handing him another weird surprise. Our professional coward is currently staring at the floating platinum box with the desperation of a gambling addict at a casino slot machine. The system helpfully scrolls through the potential loot table, and honestly, the options are enough to make a grown man cry tears of joy. We're talking about mana stones, rare herbs, 50 different types of metals, potions, elixirs, and weapons. There are even specialized items like the Rune of Level Up, which lets you gain levels without climbing, and tower jumping tickets, which let you skip floors entirely. Our boy immediately analyzes the list like a coupon clipper. He thinks the tower jumping ticket is trash because skipping a floor means skipping the clear rewards, and nobody wants to be high level but broke. His eyes instantly lock onto the holy grail of this list, the grade confirmation summon ticket. He realizes that if he pulls an Alice, rank summon, basically a gone-tier entity, he could officially retire from fighting. He starts fantasizing about a life where he sits in a lawn chair, sipping juice while his overpowered nanny does all the work. He is practically drooling at the thought of supreme, authorized laziness. He begs the universe for a miracle and opens the box. The results are a mixed bag of chaos. First up, he gets 10 of man stones. Our boy's eyes turn into dollar signs as he realizes this is basically 5 million won worth of shiny rocks he can sell whenever he wants. Second, he receives a skill book with the absolutely ridiculous name Cows, Lightning Staff. He thinks it sounds like something out of a bad romance novel, but he registers it anyway since he is desperate for an offensive move. But the third item is the real winner a rune of summon grade up. This is a total jackpot that can upgrade it, someone's rank based on their potential. He immediately faces a parental dilemma. Does he give it to the redhead assassin or the giant meatball? He reasons that he should probably give it to the assassin since they have shared so many meals, although the meatball definitely ate more of the food. In the end he decides to hoard it for later. Since their firepower is already overkill, he decides to test out his new cow's lightning staff skill. Right there in his room, he tries to unleash the first form lightning soil chaser, expecting some anime level special effects, but absolutely nothing happens, because obviously magic does not work in the real world. While he stands there looking foolish, his red assassin asks why on earth he is swinging a mace around indoors, when our boy proudly announces he learned an offensive skill. The assassin looks terrified, like he just watched a toddler pick up a chainsaw. Suddenly the serious atmosphere is ruined, because the giant meatball decides to steal fruit from the assassin, leading to a petty squabble where the assassin calls him a bastard. Once the toddler is calmed down, the assassin gives our boy a lecture. He explains that a summoner's job is to sit back and let the help do the work, mentioning that the previous guy with the straight died precisely because he tried to be a hero, but our boy is on a power trip. He insists that he is a tough guy now and needs to test his new toy. The assassin looks at him like he is watching a car crash in slow motion. He warns that for a weakling, an offensive skill is just a fancy way to get killed. When our boy tries to argue that the 20th floor was easy, the assassin snaps he initiates summon. Principle number whatever. And suddenly the giant meatball grabs our boy in a bear hug, effectively holding him hostage for his own safety. The assassin punches the meatball for being too rough, but he agrees with the method. Once they enter the tower, the meatball will carry the master like a parcel while the assassin clears the floor. Our boy realizes he has lost control of his employees, so he pulls out his ultimate weapon. Puppy eyes, he begs, staking his entire dignity on the request to just kill one monster. Carefully the assassin sighs, defeated by the sheer cringe of this situation, and agrees to let him kill one slow, lonely monster. But if things get dangerous, the deal is off. They head to the 21st floor, the land of the orcs. The assassin warns that orcs are actually smarter than the meatball tank, which the tank immediately disputes. Before they start, the assassin proposes a humiliation ritual. He wants our boy to practice hitting the tank 10 times. The meatball happily agrees to be the punching bag, promising it won't hurt a bit. Our boy refuses to participate in this degrading exercise, and threatens to charge in alone if they keep mocking him. The assassin gives up, and they start the mission. Kill 400 orcs in 4 hours. The summons launch forward, tearing through the orcs with such speed that our boy realizes the mission will be over before he even unsheathes his weapon. Just as he is about to panic about being useless, the assassin kindly saves one confused orc for him. Our boy activates his shadow stab, jumps into the air, while the orc looks up in confusion and unleashes the lightning soil chaser. It is a simple vertical strike, but as he connects he realizes that despite the stupid name, this skill is absolutely no joke.